Welcome back to another episode of Jungu Josh, and today's episode is about Constant's remedy for creativity. What is Jungu Josh all about? It's my adventure fantasy series that I've created, and it follows the story of Josh McGreer, who lives in London. He's 13 years old, but now he finds himself in Kalambula, a magical but dangerous valley in East Africa, and he tries to find answers about his missing mother with the help of Njeri, Charlie, and Ngandu. He finds tactics on fending off the evil professor who's hot on his heels, but he might also gain some skills in fighting the evil that's on its way from the east. Now, in today's episode, I want to focus on a specific character, and that links with something that we can use in everyday life. And that's Ngandu, the wise man. Those of you who've read the books will know he's enigmatic, he's a bit weird, but he's also very wise and very creative. He always has ideas in solving problems. And he does specific things to get to answers to difficult questions. Firstly, he loves hanging upside down like a bat, because that's his favorite animal. And I don't know whether it's the blood running to his head, to his brain, but when he meditates upside down, he gets answers real quick. Sometimes he loves playing with incense, making forms and subjects out of this smoke, which always helps him in getting that image of solving a problem. And then what he also does is he loves meditating on hot afternoons with a chicken next to him. I'm not totally sure what the chicken does, but the chicken also goes into a trance. You can read about this in book 3. Now, what I want to get at is that there are specific mechanisms, techniques that we can use to improve our own creativity. I have a lot of weaknesses. For example, I'm not very analytical. I struggle with strong discipline in life. And now and then it's also difficult for me to execute stuff. But luckily, one of my strengths is creativity and new ideas. So I'm going to share with you a couple of pointers that I use. Some of them are underlined, supported by a lot of research, and others are a bit airy-fairy, bit off the charts, but nonetheless, I'm going to share them with you. Now, just a side note, at this stage, I presume you already know the basic stuff that you have to do to give that creative engine of yours a kickstart. Now, the basic stuff for creativity is you have to get enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours a night. You have to eat healthy, and you have to try to do some exercises. Now, the 3 things that I do to boost my creativity that's actually supported by a lot of research, by data, is firstly, I try and make my first meal not a sugary meal. So stay away from those flapjacks and waffles, and even fruit as a first meal in the day. Try to eat something more wholesome that is savory in nature, for example, chicken with a bit of avo. Might be difficult before you go to school, but give it a try. Now, the second thing that I do that not only boosts creativity, but also keeps depression, the blues away, is I try and activate my upper body every hour. So at least every hour, I walk around swinging my arms. Now, this might sound a bit weird, but it's supported by research. It activates your prefrontal cortex, which is great for your creative side, but also your hippocampus, which fends off those blues. If you're studying, take a break every hour and move your upper body. And the third thing I do, which a lot of us will struggle to do in this day and age, and that's to have at least 45 minutes of absolute silence every day. I'm not even talking about meditation now, just sitting in silence. Because it's in those times when you hear nothing that you hear everything. So I'm not referring now to sitting in nature, because your senses will still be activated by the bird's song and the stream next to you. I'm talking about when it's night, to close the curtains and just sit with yourself for 30 to 45 minutes, and those ideas will come. And then there are three additional things that I do that are not necessarily supported by a lot of research. There are some studies that show that it shows promise, but I found that it really works. Now, the first thing is, please bear with me, it might sound a bit strange, is depending on the weather outside, I try and create an atmosphere of the contrary inside where I'm writing or creating something. So if it's very hot outside and sunny, I will create an atmosphere where it's cold and comfortable and cozy. So I would usually put on the aircon to get that cold feeling, which is normal. But then I'll also put on a channel on the TV where there's a picture or video of snow outside and a person sitting in front of a fireplace, knitting or sitting with a cat on their laps. That really works. It creates a great atmosphere for creativity. The contrary is also true, vice versa. Is if it's very cold outside and rainy, I will put on a sunny beach scene on YouTube. Now, the second weirdish thing that I do is I try and be creative as far as possible on airplanes. So I don't waste my time sleeping or watching movies on airplanes. I use that time to be creative because there was a study or two which shows that, I don't know whether it's something to do with the pressure, but signs are you might be more creative in the air than down here. So I'm talking specifically about airplanes, that difference in air pressure which creates that creativity. It's not necessarily the case if you take a ride on a school bus. And last but not least, and this might sound the most strange of all of these other remedies, and that is that I have a silent supporter. And this silent supporter has actually died. Now, before you say I'm thinking about a dead person next to me, that's not the case. But when I am creative, I write for that person who I know would have loved the story the most and who would have expected the most of me in the creative process. And that's my grandmother, Marie. So everything I do creatively, I go back and I ask myself the question, what would Marie think of this? So I think it's a good idea if you also get that silent partner to support you in your creative endeavors. So these 6 ways aren't the only ways of being creative. It's just my personal way of approaching it. And I've got a whole arsenal of other ways of trying to be creative, and I'll share them with you. If you'd like, DM me. But also, I would like to hear what your weird creative process is and entails. So comment down below, send me a DM, let us start talking about our creative ways. Well, that's that for this. That's that for this episode. Another one for the books. Thank you for your presence, and I look forward to the journey ahead.